This is a Hope 1032 podcast.
Just a warning, this episode contains topics that might be triggering for some people who are listening. If you need some assistance, contact Lifeline on 131114 131114.
To She Wasn't Born Yesterday for women who are 40 plus fabulous by the Empty Nest Chicks. I'm Janet Evans, ex-M&C Saatchi advertising creative, who have won numerous radio and TV awards. Not that that'll affect us because we're doing a podcast.
And I'm Dr. Amelia Haynes, who has been a medical doctor for 30 years and specialising in sexual health and mental health and relationships, and I'm generally a very useful human being.
Well, we'll find out about that, but we are here to work together.
People tell me on good authority that I am.
Really? Yes, well, they never say that to me, so I think we're the perfect hosts for She Wasn't Born Yesterday. Well, Dr. Amelia, how are you today?
I am fabulous today,
Yeah,
actually.
I know you're 40 plus fabulous or 35 plus fabulous, but you look gorgeous, just for people listening. I have to say this episode is about women abused by clergy, which is not a pleasant topic.
No.
But we are going to hear from someone fabulous. She is 40 plus fabulous.
Yes, she is.
But I have to say, women abused by clergy, clergy are probably the last people you would expect to abuse, anybody. But women, we've heard a lot about kids being abused by clergy over the past couple of years with royal commissions and there's been a lot of awareness about, child abuse in churches. But women abused by clergy, I feel like we haven't heard a lot about that. Have you ever experienced this in a church you've been in or, heard about it? Or?
Well, as you all good listeners know what I do professionally, indeed, sadly, too often I have actually seen people where this has been the case, and I know that our guest has exactly the same story.
Oh, okay. So we'll better reveal who our guest is.
Absolutely.
Well, she is the Pastoral Care Coordinator for the Church Missionary Society in New South Wales and the ACT. And she was formerly chaplain for the Sydney Anglican Church's Professional Standards Unit. Welcome to the fabulous Jenni Woodhouse.
Thank you very much.
Well, Jen, it seems like something that we don't hear a lot about, but is it actually a lot more common than perhaps someone like me might think?
I'm not sure what someone like you.
Yeah, how much do you think it's common? Yeah.
Because I haven't heard much about it happening.
Jen and I, sadly, I very delightfully do know Jen. And I was going to say, over the years, we have indeed known about the same events as well as, I'm sure, lots of others individually, both of our cases. So it's not a tsunami, but it's not uncommon, is how I'd put it.
This is true. And it's not a tsunami, it's not uncommon, and it doesn't seem to be stopping.
No.
I've been in touch recently with a number of folks who still work in professional standards units or on committees, and it seems like complaints are still coming in from women about ministers, assistant ministers crossing those sexual boundaries, and forming sexual relationships with them.
And so we're really talking about sexual abuse rather than kind of psychological abuse or some other kind of abuse or spiritual abuse?
I was going to say that's all wrapped in there, really. I would have thought that it's hard to separate, tease any of those things out from one another. Yeah,
that's true.
And why do you think that is?
Because in order to get into a relationship where you've got the trust of a woman to sexually abuse her, you have already psychologically manipulated, emotionally manipulated, gaslighting, whatever, to gain her trust, to get her into that position where she trusts you enough to think, well, it must be right because you're the minister and you say it's okay.
Yeah. Once again, a bit like with the domestic violence that we've talked to Jenni previously, it really is a power and control kind of thing. In a way, it's a perfect kind of setup and recipe that anyone in this kind of position of authority, if they choose to behave in this way, is actually pretty in a kind of prime seat to act on it. Yeah.
And is that because of the level of trust? And also, I guess you revere slightly the senior minister in your church. You kind of think, oh, pretty cool person. They're our leader. They're our spiritual leader, or meant to be. So therefore, are you more vulnerable in that situation than perhaps at work, for example?
Well, if you have a bit of a think about a senior minister or even an assistant minister in a church, there are various forms of power that they have. If you have a look back through your significant photos of your significant photo album, your baptisms, your weddings, who's in all the photos? The minister. If you have somebody knock on your door and you're a woman, you answer the door and it's your accountant, and he says, oh, just passing, thought I'd drop in and check out your money situation, you'd possibly want to get a new accountant. Or if your dentist knocked on the door and said, oh, I was just passing, walking past your house, just sort of pop in and check your teeth.
Give you a new crown.
Yeah.
You'd probably get a new dentist. But if your minister knocks on the door, just passing, thought I'd drop in, oh, in you come. Welcome. So they have access into people's lives, into their homes and lives that really no other kind of professional work person has. They have a special relationship with God. If you're a pew sitter, you're wanting the minister to interpret the word of God for you. If you are a young woman, you can't decide whether to marry this young man who wants to marry you or not, it's likely that you'll go and ask the minister for his opinion. What do you think? Very, very influential, a lot of power. If you're a young fella from the country and you decide to go to a church one night and the minister takes a bit of a dislike to you, you might be a bit scruffy. Afterwards, he might welcome you, say, hello, where are you from? Oh, I'm from the back of Burke. Okay, well, thanks for coming. Good night. But if the minister takes a liking to you, oh, well, come on in. Let me introduce you to other people your age, other people. He's a gatekeeper to the community. So here's a lot of power, and someone with that kind of power has access to the more vulnerable people in the congregation like nobody else does.
Yeah.
Is there a sort of typical type of, seduction or grooming kind of process that might take place? I don't presume that every situation is identical, but what might a scenario look like where a minister?
Well, most of the complaints that I was involved in for the 16 years in the PSU were the type of scenario I'm about to tell you. But on top of that, there were a small number, of predators. So we would get complaints about some men who had, up to 15 or 20 women in congregations that they've sexually abused. They're predators. But normally what would happen if you're a young minister and you become the leader of a church and for the first time and you're married and you've got 2 little kids and you're quite tired and now you've got a lot of responsibility, you've got people in your church who will say, good sermon, young Andrew, but you should have said this. And you've got people that say, I like you, young Andrew, but you've got to speak up. Or they're just criticisms all the time.
No ministers out there called Andrew need to feel anxious at this point. We're just using Andrew for the day.
Like so
we'll call him Tarquin.
Yeah, okay, whoever. So they're under a lot of pressure. Their stress levels have increased, and as your stress levels increase and your cortisol levels increase, you start to lose your ability to make good decisions. You start to get a bit overwhelmed with the information coming into your brain, and it's getting a bit stressful now. I'm starting to feel a bit overwhelmed with the work. A really lovely thing that actually will decrease your cortisol level is a hit of endorphins.
Yeah.
And that's a feel-good thing. So if this young minister, what's his name, Janet? I've forgotten.
Tarquin.
If young Tarquin is in the church office and young Mrs. Smith comes in, just dropping off the church newsletters for you, and she says, oh, Tarquin, your sermon on Sunday just touched my heart. It was just the perfect. So thank you so much. poof goes his endorphins. Oh, that's nice. Oh, okay, Mrs. Smith, thank you. Thank you so much. I must catch up with you next Sunday and see what you think about the next one. So he'll catch up with the next Sunday, another little hit of endorphins. And then Mrs. Smith might say, oh, Tarquin, I wish my husband was like you. You're so beautiful. You're so lovely to your wife. And my husband's a grump. Poof, go the endorphins. And you can see how this is developing. It doesn't take all that long, a few months perhaps. And Tarquin must catch up with Mrs. Smith over coffee. And then Tarquin must invite Mrs. Smith into the office and shut the door. And it just develops into this relationship. Tarquin knows this is wrong, but boy, I can't let go of that endorphin hit.
It's pretty intoxicating, basically, what you're describing is,
So it's sort of addictive once you get started. You need that.
It's gorgeous. That whole infatuation-y, flattery, endorphin hit kind of thing is fantastic for humans.
I guess
we love it.
The first part of a romance all over again, isn't it?
Yes, we love it.
Yeah.
And of course Tarquin's lovely to Mrs. Smith. Of course he's lovelier than her husband because she has to live with her husband. And of course Mrs. Smith is more beautiful than his wife because his wife is so stressed out with 2 little kids, and why can't she be more like Mrs. Smith? But, he does have the power, and he does say to her when she shows a bit of hesitation, no, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. It's okay, I'm the minister, it's okay, I know these things. I've been to a conference on sexual abuse in churches, and this bit's fine. So as long as we don't go the next step. So, it must be okay then. And before you know it, you're having sex on the rug in front of the altar. It's just it's really horrible.
I shouldn't laugh, but that was quite funny, Jen.
Don't put a rug in front of the altar. That's the key message out of this.
Here we go again.
However, on a more serious note, actually, I do like what Jen just said, actually, because you're right. Like within a split second, you go from reluctance and we must
hesitation
and whatever to absolutely it's on for young and old. Like, don't deceive yourselves. Deceive yourselves.
So you're saying that even if the minister's married and the woman's married, this is a common thing to happen, or would it be more likely to be a married minister and a young single
yes, well,
woman?
that can happen as well.
That happens too.
Usually between male and female, but not always. No.
Mind you, I was going to say that can be even more intoxicating, kind of, Jen, with a kind of very middle-aged, male minister where everything has become really very hard yakka, and a young single female, and she says to him, I feel secure with you, like all the kind of the right things that make someone feel fabulous.
The powerful thing.
And power is so attractive, such an attractive thing. Some of these men are just so unattractive. You think, my goodness, how on earth did she fall for him? It's some of the men who had sexually abused a dozen women, you'd think, good grief, what's he got going for him? It's just incredible. The power, the intoxication of it.
Yeah.
But is it ever a case too where the woman is actually really reluctant but feels sort of coerced into this relationship because of that power?
It can be. It certainly can be. Often the women don't pick that up until afterwards. And it's when she starts to think, hold on a second, hold on, this doesn't seem quite right, and might raise it with him, we should tell someone about this because this doesn't seem right. And he starts backpedaling, no, don't tell anyone because I'll lose my job and then we'll be out of work and then this will happen, then that will happen. And she's now feeling like the power's shifted a bit because actually now she's got some ammunition. If she explodes this bomb, she's got all the power then. When it gets to that point that she usually speaks up, she still will be feeling like, who on earth is going to believe me? But at least she's got a little bit more power, and that gives her a little bit more distance to analyse, this is how it happened. I got seduced into this through that power, through that, his seduction, that kind of, this is not right.
Yeah. What can we do to safeguard ourselves against these situations? Because I can remember there was a minister that I used to be in a church with. I used to work with him on some advertising stuff for the church, and a couple of times he would organise to come over to my place and have a meeting about it. And it was like, so like fine by me, but he would always wait for my husband to come home and be there. Like even if it meant him sitting in the car for 25 minutes outside the house, for him to come home and be there as well when he was there.
Yes.
And I was like, why are you doing this? This is ridiculous. This is me, but he just insisted, and it was because he needed to not only not be alone with another woman, but be seen to be not alone with another woman, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That would be, I imagine, one of the ways.
Yes, that's a good way. Actually, there's a famous story about American evangelist Billy Graham. He used to, when he was traveling, would always make sure that someone else went into his room where he was going to stay before him.
Why?
To make sure that there was no one in there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like a rock star fan. Like
yeah. Like, or like even more nefarious than that, I suppose, like someone could use it as photo opportunity to take a picture of him with a naked woman, anyway. That, but also just the idea that, exactly, there would be some woman who had planted herself in the room because she was so intoxicated by who he was.
Yeah. I can remember, I read recently, this is not about clergy or anything about this topic, but there was a muso who said, they were on the famous band, and he said, like, one day he went to the hotel room and there was a woman in his shower. He just opened the shower curtain and there was a woman there.
Hello.
Billy Graham was probably trying to avoid that kind of scenario.
Yes, exactly.
But is there anything else that ministers should be doing to prevent this situation?
The first thing is exactly what your fantastic minister did in visiting you, and that was to be highly commended. I guess actually even before that, the first thing is to recognise that it could happen to me. So this is a slide downhill, but the first step on the slide downhill is to think it won't happen to me. So step one is to recognise it could happen to you. Are you a bloke? Yes, it could happen to you. So that's step one. The second step is to work on your marriage and to continue working on your marriage if you are a married minister. Just keep doing it. If you're an unmarried minister, or a minister who's not married, I should say, work on your friendships. Make sure you have really good friendships, that you're getting enough relational, what do you call that?
Endorphins?
Yes, endorphins. Yes, those things as well. You're getting enough from your relationships.
Yes.
So that would be the second step. The third step is to be honest, and that's quite a hard ask, really. So be honest really early on with somebody. Have a mentor. Have someone that you're talking to. And this is so the Royal Commission's come out advising that ministers of religion, very strongly advising, in fact, almost requiring ministers of religion to have a supervisor. So have a supervisor, have a mentor, have someone like that with whom you can actually be honest. There needs to be someone you can say, I find Mrs. Smith really attractive. I noticed she came in the other day and I got an endorphin hit like nothing else. You need to be able to say that. As soon as you say that out loud, that is going to decrease the power of that over you tenfold. And in fact, if you say it a couple of times out loud, after a while you'll think, what on earth was I finding attractive about Mrs. Smith? That's bizarre. I don't know.
Exactly. She's a gorgeous lady, but whatever.
What was I thinking?
Yes, what was I thinking? So say it out loud early on. So I'm actually suggesting that it's the ministers who have to do the primary work here of making sure this doesn't happen. The secondary work then is done by the people in the congregation who really, please be willing to go and talk to him and say, I've noticed that you've been chatting to Mrs. Smith each week now afterwards. You might like to share yourself around a bit. As soon as they hear that and it becomes a conscious thing for them, they're more likely then to be able to say it out loud to somebody.
Yeah.
Even if they say it, go home and say it to your wife or your friend or someone, guess what someone said to me today? They said just say it out loud is the important bit.
Yeah, on a totally different topic, I was going to say, in my just seeing people who are in relationships, there is a lot of evidence to suggest, and people really hate this, so what I'm about to say just comes with a warning, is that actually it is a really good idea that we are in relationships where you can say to your significant other, I've started working with bloody blah, and he makes me laugh so much. I do find him attractive. That we have a differentiated relationship. Jenny should be nodding here. She is nodding.
I am. I can say yes.
That we're differentiated enough to go, that makes me feel a bit jealous and anxious, but thank you for letting me know, because I know that when you tell me, it kind of deflates the whole thing.
Yeah, like you were saying, diffuses the situation.
It diffuses the endorphin production in your brain. It stops producing endorphins. So that's a really good thing to do. And if people in the congregation are willing to actually point things out to you that's not looking so crash hot, that's excellent as well. So the ministers are the primary people who need to be making sure this doesn't happen. The congregation members are the secondary people who need to make sure this doesn't happen.
But is there ever a situation where if it's a single minister and he finds a single woman in the congregation attractive, is it not appropriate for him to maybe date her and start a relationship?
It has been known.
Yes, but that would be that's okay, right? Or is it not okay?
Yes and no. So yes, of course, lovely. Isn't that nice that they found each other? That's beautiful. The problem is neither of them will ever know that it's the power she's attracted to and not him. So really the only way to figure that out is for her to take herself off to another church somewhere while they're dating and just see how that works. Or to separate out that power issue for her, because it's a seductive thing and really she will never know unless she's able to get her head around the fact that he's a normal human being.
After 5 years of marriage, she'll know.
By then it'll be way too late.
But we could actually circumvent some of that by having them dating from separate congregations.
Yes.
She can then get really annoyed with how much he talks, and she's allowed to get annoyed with, and she can talk to people in her congregation about how annoying her boyfriend is, whereas she can't do that if she's in the same congregation.
Yes.
And I just have one last question for you, Gorgeous, because I know you have to go. But, in churches, I feel like, we can be quite judgmental. So, I mean, if you do hear and it's sort of come out that the minister has had a relationship with someone in the congregation, but they're both, completely repented and it's no longer happening and, all is forgiven. Like, should a congregation, do they actually have the right to know when it's happened?
Yes, he's in a position of power and authority in that congregation. That congregation has asked him to lead them. A community like that is the most significant community in anyone's life. That church community is your most significant community. For the person that you've entrusted leadership to in that community to have broken the boundaries of what you expect of his behaviour, it needs to be known that this is what's happened. So that needs to be known. He needs to step down from that position.
Right. Oh, wow.
Well, you can't trust somebody to not do that again. Whenever he got ordained in whatever denomination he's in or priesthood or whatever he's been, he made vows. He promised not to do that. He's broken those promises. Now, he might step down for a time. He might go off to counselling and he might find himself back in a position of authority sometime in the future. It all depends on his response. So that's the first thing to say. The second thing to say is the congregation really do need to be told what has happened, because if someone suddenly leaves and it's got something to do with something suspicious, the rumours and gossip that then spreads like wildfire is horrendous.
Yeah.
So tell them the truth and that will stop that. And the third thing to say is he is the one that needs to be named and she is the one that needs to remain anonymous.
Oh.
I was going to say, just to be the devil's advocate on that, I was going to say people are so, like myself included, we're all so awful at how we assume various things. So even if we're told the truth, we're likely to be, and we should be judged for it, but we're likely to be very judgy and horrible.
Yeah, I guess people have to make a decision whether they stay with that place or go somewhere else, or how they respond to it is up to them, I guess, isn't it?
That's true, but everyone will be judgy and horrible. Everybody.
Yeah, everyone will be judgy and horrible. I was going to say human beings, like I think you've said before, Jen, we're not fabulously
Nice people.
Yeah, we're not fabulously nice people.
We're overrated. Yes.
We're
that's
not
right.
impressive. We're not
We are
impressive.
not.
Yeah.
You guys are impressive. In fact, Jen, you have been very, very impressive today, and we really, really, really thank you for being here and chatting to us
We do.
about such, difficult topics, but one about which you're an expert. And we look forward to the next time that we chat with you. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you for having me.
Gorgo, we hope you enjoyed this episode and we adore that you listen in, but we'd love to hear more from you. What you thought of this ep, what you'd like us to chat about in future, and we'd really like to thank everyone who's got in touch with us so far and suggested ideas and made comments. Thank you, gorgeous people.
So whatever you have to say, search hopepodcasts.com.au and hit the big pink button that says contact the team. We'll get back to you.
And remember, if you'd like to send us expensive gifts, just park that Lamborghini in the Hope 103.2 foyer. They won't mind.
Join us next week on She Wasn't Born Yesterday. We really look forward to your company.
Hope 103.2. Thanks for listening.